Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wacom webinar series, 100% digital. Today is very exciting because we have two appointments, and I'm really proud to go on with this series because we'll show a new technique to work with digital design workflow and with your Wacom product and learn to use it as well as possible. We'll leave the ground to Melissa Messan from Wacom to explain better something about Wacom. But before to do that, I will explain the real meaning of Wacom. Is a name of a Japanese word that is wa, harmony, and komu, computer. So it's the best way to use digital in your hand. So Melissa, welcome and explain us better about the brand. Thank you.
Yeah, so hello everyone. For those of you who know Wacom and those who have been following us during the last years with our online events, welcome back. It's so nice to see you again. And for those who are new, Wacom has been around for almost 40 years and we are the pioneers of digital pen input technology. Whenever you want to create on your computer and you realize that using a mouse or a trackpad just don't cut it, you should try using a digital pen. And now I'd like to hand over again to Alessio.
Thank you, Melissa. So we'll have again the pen in our hand to do the design, the digital design as natural as possible. But I'm really proud to introduce Ahmet Aslan, and welcome, Ahmet.
Good morning. Alessio. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Alessio.
Ahmet is a very young and talented designer, and started to work with Wacom 5 years ago. And we collaborate together on many projects. And today, it will show us a very interesting technique. What about this technique, Ahmet?
Yeah, so today we are actually visualizing ideas through a method called Collage, as you are familiar already. And we chose this technique because this is one of the impactful techniques that you can apply during your presentations. So we are just going to go through some examples, check them and examine them a bit, and then we are going to try to create something similar together.
Yeah, sounds very interesting, but just it's a very old technique, classical technique. How did you discover it?
Actually, my actual meeting with Collage as a professional student was here during my thesis. Before I was doing some collages, but it got serious and I started to realize it's really good technique to use in presentations, student presentations in this case. And then I like the idea and then I keep discovering.
Yeah, very good. So please go on and show us all the samples and the history and all your works. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So yeah, we are just going to go through some examples. Wacom, Collage. Collage is going to be a technique that we are going to see today. We are going to see some background story of Collage. But before starting, I want to note that it's a rather short session to cover everything, every little detail. So we hope the purpose of this meeting is actually to create a kind of curiosity and maybe to bring also a new point of view to your production methods. So by saying that, let's start. So collage is a literally meaning, it means sticking things, gluing things together. So you have this perfect tool, really up to you in organization, bringing images together to tell a visual story. And then other purpose here is to create a kind of feeling, a kind of to evoke. You know, there is this immaterial side of this collage that I want to emphasize as well. So you have an idea, you want to create some, communicate an idea, and then you do it through images. And I want to take you back to how it started in modern art. I mean, it was an applied technique even before that, but the term, the contemporary understanding of collage was actually derived from these masters' works. So it started as one day Barak entered a local store, and then he discovered some fake wooden printed papers and decided to use in his cubist experimentations. And then later he actually talked about the issue. I mean, they worked together with Picasso, and then they did a lot of experimentation on the case, as you see here. And then here it gone wild maybe, and then they even started to utilize some objects, okay, some random objects, and then to see them, to create a kind of art, to see art potential in even normal objects. And next level of this is a Dadaist art, Kurt Schwitters. He is a really interesting character, and he made collage as his lifestyle by saying that he was finding some paperworks, magazines, even tickets, some bills, anything that can be attached to the canvas paper. He was using them to create memories. So it's really a recyclable approach from you know, random, meaningless to into art. And then he gave a name to this collage technique called Max. It's a made-up word. And then later he even you know, applied this a lot and became his character. He tried some samples even sculpturally in interiors as well. Another sample from pop art, Richard Hamilton. Like, this was made half century ago, really analog techniques, and you see the materiality here. You can consider this, it would go even now if you make something like this. And by saying that, you see like how the shift actually from analog to digital. This is a contemporary example, architectural visualization made by using collage technique. And this is a really good level that you can actually present in your projects at the moment.
That's really good. And is it also a fast technique, Matt?
Yeah, exactly. The advantage of this collage technique is really idea-based. So avoiding to lose time around, you just capture the main essence, and then you just put it on the paper, digital papers nowadays. And it's really a simple method, let's say.
Good.
And then all these designer approaches aside, it is also a way of seeing life, right? Seeing the potential, creative potential around you. And this is a challenge made by an architect, Philip Vasconcelos. And he was actually converting iconic architectures into daily objects, animals, concerning the form of the architectures, buildings. And again, today's topic, Frank Lloyd, I mean, you see the potential. Sure. This is an interesting approach. Also, talking about the inspiration and creative side of this collage, we know Frank Gehry noted that during his projection phase, he was influenced by a collage of Robert Rauschenberg, and the way he used the material was also having similarities. It was derived from this work of art. So you see this relation even in different scales. By saying that, I want to say, like, I want to jump from there to here. It's a material board that we made. It was made by one of my colleague, project mate. And you see, it's also perfect method. Collage is a perfect method to give a really technical ideas, technical message, right? In this case, it's a material board, right? And yeah, it worked perfectly. On the other hand, while going that technical, you can be also this creative, and then you can be this surreal, right? Also this much, if you want to exaggerate, like seeing the contrast. These are just to bring some brainstorming. And
so it's very versatile technique you can use for many fields.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And I want to thank you also to how I benefited from making collages. And by going back to my personal history, I found this photo, me, and I made a collage of me while making collage. Yeah, and we actually started with this approach during our basic design. This was 7-8 years ago. And then, yeah, this is how we jump into the design field, you know, trying to find some senses in the compositions. But the real realization, the actual realization of the technique was actually, it happened here, I can say. And we were always asked to present one collage, concept collage, while presenting our ideas, project ideas. So it was a really important step for me. And this was from final symposium that we had to summarize all year with one image, like everything we learned. I don't know which your process, really personal. Everybody created really totally different things. In my case, I wanted to emphasize this moment of being out of routine, and then I realized that is mostly the time that ideas flow, right? So I wanted to create this context. Here on the left, you see a perfect place where you can have a break and have some extra moments to think, you know, free yourself from, free your mind from other things. And then the ideas flow here. That's why you see this structure. You know, I made it slightly architectural. So I have a space here under where you know,
squeeze your idea.
Squeeze, yeah, sorry, thank you.
Yeah, squeeze your idea.
Squeeze the ideas. And then these are the links to the projects that we made back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then while you see the context here, you see only the juice, you know, by a simple trick, by a simple color trick. And that was, and then later there was other interior studios that we applied the same technique. And this was a collage that I created. And you see, there were levels, and then there were these points, action points, activity points. And by keeping everything monochrome, and then keeping the points colorful, and then giving the main emphasis to the center, yeah, there is a lot of you know, small detail considerations. also here. I want to give a background information with this because it is linked to other slides. So this was a climate performance workshop that we had to select one problem, climate change problem, and then produce an idea, installation idea that creates a kind of awareness. Here we chose phytoplanktons. These are small microscopic creatures. And then they are actually overpopulating because of the overheating in the planet. And then overpopulation is breaking all the food chain and all the sea creatures are dying. So to create this experience, you know, the overpopulation on the left and then a kind of tunnel. This is very beginning stage of the design. We were just considering there is no context. There is just an idea of a tunnel and then this experience of from overpopulation to, you know, where you don't have this much of problem. And then you see human scale as well alongside of the tunnel by simply placing some figures, you know, making a bit more clear. The message is like about space. Later, we discovered some other options. Now you start to see some context. This is a famous square in Milan. And here the idea was domino, basically. And then how actually you can ruin the planet, basically, by just simply moving one piece of a domino, and then everywhere is contaminated as a result of human action. So it was an installation idea. And then you see, since there is an explosion, overpopulation happening at the end of the domino bricks, this explosion idea, you see there is an intention of keeping the composition a bit dynamic, you know, and yeah, keeping all the context monochrome, while the actual focus is colored, and then, you know, to give a right message. So there are these kind of background stories of this. And also the final stage that we arrived was creating a kind of platform where people had to stay in balance on the platform. And if they don't manage to stay in balance, they just contaminate the environment. Okay. By simply, and then this platform is leaking some colors around. And eventually this color was, we were thinking to turn into dark, you know, something that you don't want in your environment. And another project idea was we were discussing in the group was, you know, putting ourselves into planet's position. I mean, the animals' place. And then while we are always dominating the environment, now in the installation idea, we wanted to be communicate the idea of being dominated by nature. So there is this picnic, human picnic, where plants, this is a carnivore plant that is fed by meat, you know, it eats flies, insects.
Yep.
And then there is this giant installation here. This is very conceptual, I want to note. And so we didn't even discuss the structure, but there's this thing in the center, and then people are just walking around and being in the danger of being eaten. Yeah, I mean, these are some personal collage stories. And from this point, I want to take you to our today's topic. Maybe we can create some things. I want to go through how. So today we are having this wonderful, iconic architecture, Fallingwater House, Kaufman House, the other name. So I prepared a collage for this event banner, and through that, I want to introduce that, and then we are gonna move to the production. And Alessio, please give me some like if there just remind me about the time. Yeah. If I need to follow up something.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I have to say that it's one of my favorite Archistar at university. When I saw the end drawing done by Franklin Wright, I love it to draw by hand, and then I discovered how to do that in digital way. But his personal drawing were beautiful, absolutely. So yeah, this is a very interesting topics to show everyone how to work in a contemporary way, but with this high on the past and beautiful reference.
I agree, because this, I mean, I personally, we got an education of Bauhaus through our basic design courses. Yeah. So it was a really familiar character to us for design students from our departments.
Sure.
So, you know, examining the architecture here, I mean, how I started the process was actually a basic research a bit. You know, before creating the collage, first, you must have an idea about what you're gonna produce. I mean, you're not 100% sure about the final result. This is the fun part of it. This is the excitement, you know? And you just make a bit of research. You have the starting point, and then you start to discover. You start to discover. And in this case, there are a lot of keywords that I noted here. You know, the materials from the context, they didn't want to remove a thing, and it is a really well merged architecture with the nature. The idea of keeping the sound of the waterfall, right? I mean, that's why he built on top. There was a discussion to build downside, but he built on top to have this constant water sound, a bit more controlled. And you know, I have all these things, and then as a main driving point for this collage was actually I selected these. Sorry, I have to move you. This one.
Yeah. So
no, I had to move your screen.
Just an element to use as material, the nature, so water and all the trees that are around the Kaufman House, and was one of the main element in his architecture style. And so you used for our poster also all this green color that at once says that you are just speaking about nature.
Right, that's the important thing. You have to the pitfall would be making something really literal and direct. So in collage making, maybe it is important to leave a bit of space for exploration. So this is not a collage that is representing directly, like literally the house, right? But here there are some position. Here there are some elements.
Yep.
Here there are some elements that you can, you know, relate to the architecture. But other than that, it was more like nature and the architecture centered work, the collage here. So I selected here for this collage, human, architecture, and nature. This is the building was the mixture of this three. So you see something related here. And then before that, actually, I had to sketch my idea a bit. You know, I want to show you also an example to for this about the process. Oops, works. So you have this seen already during the presentation.
Yeah.
And then this was the previous step.
The very first step is just the concept, and then you evolve in the final one that you show in the presentation.
Exactly. So there is a really random. I wanted to understand if I can add some kind of cityscape. I had to just sketch quickly. I just sketched the main idea. I even cropped my head and placed. You know, this is a real photo. I mean, this is really a flexible method that you can see. And there are actually two places that you can apply this idea. The first is the ideation, like about the very beginning of the project, where you are discovering things. And then at the end, to create interest from your viewer at that moment, whoever it is, you know, if it is your client, if it is your project presentation as a student, there is this also power to utilize this in the last step of like, you have the design and then you want to create some interest. So there is also a place that you can use collage image
in all the examples you show us. I saw a very straight meaning. So it's useful to explain as fast and better as possible your ideas, because just cutting and avoiding the environment is like you are looking at this one. I'm presenting you this thing, and then you can just use different plane or perspective, and even perspective is not exactly the right one, but you can just use it as a graphic issue. So it's really interesting working like this.
Yeah, there is a lot of potential, as you said.
Yeah.
So, and then let's move to maybe, okay, this was, I mean, let's try to variate like what we can do from this again. And different from this result. And here, as I said there, it was mostly about architecture and the nature. Sorry, architect. You know, it was, well, I want to show you this. This is, there's a hidden Frank Lloyd here. Here, hi. So this is this was a portrait of the architect, and then I placed it in the center. But here, maybe for this event, let's do something more out of architect, you know, something not dependent to architect, but more like the main message.
Okay.
So here, the sketches, I sketched quickly before what we can do. But we can also, yeah, like here, there is an idea of also destruction of the box, right? And maybe a bit more dynamic composition, thinking how he uses the geometry, right? So I will try to add some more keywords and maybe a different focus this time. And all these, there is a layer, there's a layer that is seen, that is read from his architecture, especially in this building. And this dynamic form, I was thinking we can somehow utilize, oops.
In your workflow, you usually do this keyword list, like you know, a credit cloud of keywords before to go on.
Yeah.
Or, okay.
It is really useful. I mean, I do it to be sure what I'm doing. So
yeah.
And to create some checklist for myself.
Yeah, sure.
And to see what's happening, you know, maybe, and then I visit the notes again, and then I take again some notes. I make additions. This is also a workplace, right? It is expanding through your research. And it is the very beginning point for me, most of the cases. If it is a design work, if it's a more independent work, I use my creative freedom. But if I need to, you know, make a research and communicate some ideas, I need to do some keyword list like this.
Totally agree with you, because as a professional, but also a teacher, with my student, I usually use just a cloud of keywords. So you can put all the keywords that you like for the project, for example, depending on topics and the issues. But then you have to have control with that keywords and checklist. So you can just see if you put everything you want inside the final result. And it's very good way to have control on the project.
I totally agree. That, I mean, you have a different experience. You're a professor, and you see actually students. You see all these processes of the students, right? So you have a different experience.
Yeah, and the white paper is some kind of enemy for, you know, for creativity. But if you try to create your schemes and you write something, you do some sketches, even really simple at the beginning, you can just go on really smooth, and can just use it. And are you using now? I'm just looking at your camera. You're using just a tablet without a screen.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm utilizing this a lot. Actually, this is helpful for me. I also did the other compositions with this.
Okay.
And just you know, it was a moving point from analog to digital.
It's a kind of link.
Yeah, for me it was. So it's a useful tool in this case. And then as you see here, I'm actually just trying to recreate the things, but you have this potential to use to manipulate what you have. I mean, I was trying to show how simple actually to create these images, and yeah,
it's
here
very natural.
I'm
you
thinking.
I say it's natural as using a pen on paper and making your sketch, you know, with ink, with pencil. So you can just modulate your end stroke and create something like this very quick. It's impossible, I think, if you use only the mouse to do these small lines, even curves. So it's a very important step to gain freedom while doing the concept step.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, here actually, it's basically what I'm trying to do is using this freedom to actually replicate and maybe enhance the visuals at the moment. So I'm working on the sketch that I made. You know, at this point, here you see all the layers. Maybe okay. I want to talk a bit of the composition. So you see all the layers, all these dynamic forms in some ways, and then here on the other side there is this nature side of the project, right? And then again, a bit we can remove, but we can try to experiment also with a person like this in the center.
Okay.
So you have this harmony again, combination again. Actually, what was presented in the previous collage is actually the same thing here. But in another way. Even the composition is different here. Maybe there is a bit more linear focus supported with the you know, some side. It's again central, but it's rather linear. There is a central line, central circle that is gathering all the attention. Okay, I'll create these things quickly. So basically, I'm just using the selection tool, making a really fast selections. Okay, again, and one more time. Oops. Okay. So I'm arranging my layers here. Okay, now everything is flat, but don't worry. We are gonna create some layered logic as well in between them. So also in collage making, the important thing is visual references. You will need a lot of visual references, and you will need to search for them. And sometimes it's really difficult to find the perfect image. So generally, I create this working method.
Okay, this is your database of cutout and elements that you want to put, for example, in different works. Yes, exactly. You can just prepare in advance, and yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I basically have this for this event, for this project, but in every project, I create something similar. And it's ideal if you have an archive, eventually, personal archive of these cutouts. In the long run, it will save you from searching, but generally you're not satisfied with what you have and go for other things, other good potentially existing images online. So,
but with a good research, you can just save hours in your work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Keyword research. This is the important point. Like that was the important part of knowing this kind of starting point. Especially, I generally use Google Images, to be honest. It's a perfect, I mean, it's really simple, and it's a big database, and and there's a downside of this, like you have to be sure you are not, you have to be sure the image is not copyrighted. So you have, I mean, if it is a student work, it's fine, you know, in the project. But if it's a professional work,
okay,
I generally check
outside on the professional side. Yeah, sure.
But yeah, there is this keyword research method that saves you a lot of time about images. But I want to close this because it's making it heavy. Okay. Okay. So what I'm doing is basically bringing some cutout images suitable for my idea at the moment, and then I'm just placing them around to manage. So I want to also create this. I want to show how to layer this first. I have my images. Then I have my layers. So what I did was, so I want to break this flat effect, right? Because there are layers here. I selected the layer and I click Control and then here to the image, and it is an automatic selection. What I do is select inverse because I need this space. So I arrange my hardness level, opacity, and then colors that I'm going to change. And I simply create these layers. Okay. And I want to do the same.
Just giving three-dimensionality to the sketch.
Exactly.
Yeah, good.
Again,
I think it was also the idea of the really first collage, because in the first collage you just kept the pictures and part of paper, newspaper, and then put together just to have something that was three-dimensional, some kind of proto rendering, you know.
Exactly.
Did it in 30s, 40s, and 50s before the computer graphics were born. So was born. So it was interesting. Yeah, very good.
Do you remember the architectural collage that I showed? Yeah. It is actually, people are really using the methods, also professionally.
Yeah, sure.
You know, to sometimes without even, I mean, it really depends on the situation, but there are times that you need to have this as the main, you know, driving the conversation with the client or with the project presentation. You need to have this, and it's really helpful too in that way. Here, for example, I have this extra shades here. Do you see? I don't want that. I just selected this. I selected the shape space and I make the inverse, and I selected my shade, and then I just delete the extra part. So I only have the geometry. I have the shadow that is fallen onto geometry, and I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna do the same I did
So again, with your setup, actually using Photoshop as the main software, it's very important to use the layering, just the layer hierarchy to create all these effects. So cutting, using the shape and modify them. It's very important to have this all using the opacity and the color. So you can just control everything with the layer hierarchy. So
I mean, generally, if it goes mass, right? I mean, I just start my layers, but if it goes messy,
yeah.
I simply group them. And this is the helpful method. I simply group everything that is fallen on under the same category. Here it was the shapes. So I have, as a part of my collage, I was thinking of this. I think I will be a bit quick concerning the time. So I have this. Okay, I will use the same, but maybe distorting a bit. So I can utilize in this case the warp tool to differentiate your copied image and then delete some parts of the image so they don't look the same. Okay. And here I want to place the human. And for this, I selected some characters, silhouettes. Yeah, this looks good. Here. Oh, that was a lie. It was not PNG. So in these cases,
sometimes you have to check
always.
It out. Yes, yes, always. That is just a smooth background, so you can just.
Exactly. I just choose my selection tool. I select the part, unwanted part, here and there, and I just do it. There are, if the situation is complex, you know, if the shape and the background is not that clear, you can always, you know, utilize the selection tool. I mean, I'm not gonna go.
If you want to have more natural and cutout, personal cutout. You have to say, Ahmet, we have 10 minutes.
Okay, then I want to show a really quick thing.
Yeah, sure.
Then ready to move. So we have this as a last suggestion, maybe. Okay, we have this. You can play with the background. Here, it's rather simple image, right? It's a rather simple image. But what I like to do is always after having a good result, finding some filters, finding some nice backgrounds, maybe. I mean, okay. Let's wait. I was planning something else, but this will change the game, I guess. Okay.
Oh, some effects. Okay. Watercolor effects.
Yeah. And also, okay, having this, you can play with the opacity of the person. Or if you want, you can scale down and actually make a negative space.
Okay.
Okay. And the final thing is, yeah, as I was saying, it takes a bit more time than our limited session today, but it was just to, to start a conversation. So the final thing that you can do is, after finalizing the composition, playing around with these kind of textures is a good idea. So it's open to experimentation, but it is, again, if you want to create some visual, strong visuals, you should also consider about the effects. Here you see the texture is suddenly changed, and I'm basically playing the layer. I'm giving overlay, sometimes screen, depending on, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna call the, I'm gonna call, is it the, maybe it is the final thing. And yeah, it is, you have the nature, you have the main ideas. Maybe final thing I can say is reaching. So after having some techniques, maybe paying attention the composition techniques. It's important. Maybe composition, proportions, rule of thirds. I would like to cover a lot these things, but but check out, for example, same thing applies that we learn from basic design courses, Gestalt, psychology, all those rules, hierarchy, contrast. You can map, scale up and down to see these differences and then find the perfect, let's say, result eventually. Wait, I want to end here. And
it's very fast. It's interesting. As many sites, so you can use with your database. You can just cut out from images. You can just work with the color, with color grading of the images and effects on like the texture. For example, the texture effects that you give at the final step is really cool because it change it like an illustration, something like this. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to manage all this part. And again, working 100% digital give you this possibility, give you the freedom of change your mind, for example, making different proposal. And for university field, you have to speak with your professor with a very straight tool. And in your professional work, you can just show to the client, the customers, some object, for example, that you can art render in 3D or sketch, for example.
Yeah, that is what you're going to show us today, right?
Just some kind of chair, some kind of, I don't know, item inside. You have to take your time to do that, like an illustration or making the 3D model and then rendering. So you keep the picture and you put in perspective. You create these effects. And so I think it's very useful and fast.
Yeah, that by saying that, maybe we can link also by words to your session. After this, Alessio will also show us a really cool technique from 3D to 2D digital painting, taking references from models. Then there will be some good links, tips as well there. I want to just say from my part, to end my speech, we are waiting you there as well. Want to add? Yeah, so from me, that's all, actually, I guess. If you have any question and other things.
Thank you so much. I want to see if there are questions about a student, if they want to ask you something. I want to really fast recall your setup today. For example, that is perfect for a student is a laptop. Then you have an Intuos, Wacom Intuos. Okay, that is very small, so you can put in your backpack. And then with the software you use mainly Photoshop. So this is your setup, and that is fast. And the example were really good. So I think if they are questioned, they can just, or they can have a link again to see all the steps and even the presentation. My question is, for example, on your complex collage, how many minutes or hour you needed to do that?
Okay. Visually, it is open to experimentation, and it depends on, like, you have, as I said, you have an image in your mind, not 100% sure, and you go and search for other images to bring, right, to bring your scene, and you're not satisfied, you are satisfied, but you need another, the composition, trying the composition, and then I think the good result takes for me 3 hours approximately, that I can say, okay, it was good. 3 hours plus, if I wanna you know, squish all the juice from you know,
for example, on Gowal and T-Square, that was really good. So that one was really impressive. So you can understand the project, you can understand the environment, and so it's really cool. Okay.
That one was prepared in one morning in the class, in the studio, with a lot of brainstorming happening.
Really, really good. So now we have a break. I don't know if you want to close the presentation with other slides, because we're closing. Then we have 1 hour break. Then we start again with digital painting.
Yeah, we can conclude. We don't have any more slides. I don't have any more slides.
Okay, so thank you so much, Ahmet. It was very exciting, and really want to try something like this. Okay, I have to admit that I don't use this technique too much, but you show me something that I really want to try again. And so I hope that is really useful for all the students that are attending the video. And just one break, 1 hour, and then we'll start again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Now we are here again with the second session of our event. And it will be done by Alessio. It will be about digital painting, about the same topic, Fallingwater house. Before closing the previous event, we received one question last time, one last moment question. And I would like to answer that since it was part of my part of my content. So the question is, it's from Bashak, and the question is, I would like to ask how we can understand the relevancy of the keywords which we choose for a project. How can we monitor this? I think I have two ways to answer this. It depends on project type. If it is made out of from scratch, you know, if it is a total new project and you're producing selecting some keywords for this, I think it will change a lot. Your keywords will change a lot. And this is the good side of it, because through this collage technique, the visualization, selecting keywords suitable at that moment, you know, according to your research, the keywords represents that stage of your presentation and research. And then after, as you go through with your colleagues, with the professors or with the client, the keywords will remain still after a while. So it will happen in time. And another way to answer this question is if the keywords are from a really already made project, it is totally depending on what you select from the table research, what is emphasized in the project. It was a bit long answer, but I hope it answered. It was satisfying answer for you. And now I want to move to actually to the production phase, actually to the presentation phase of this session. And we will be going through the session with Alessio, as you know, and he will show us some really applied techniques from his design workflow. Yeah. So Alessio, welcome again. And
Thank you, Matt.
Just please feel free.
That you impressed me about the collage technique. So I will experiment something by my own, okay? And I will share with you. Yeah. But actually, we'll see something a little bit different, okay? It means that we'll use some references only to create illustration and digital paint. Same topic, the beautiful Fallingwater house from my favorite architect, Frank Lloyd Wright. It was very inspiring to me when I was a student. And we'll see some techniques, some different techniques, some samples, and then all the breakdown to do this kind of illustration. Okay, let's jump into the presentation. And yes, we start. For example, my idea is to choose your own style to do the illustration, to do the digital painting, because it's like making and drawing. You have to choose what you really want to express yourself with a digital drawing. And it's very easy to do, because you have not to force your style changing from the end drawing on paper. It's the same thing. So you have to adapt the tablet to your skill. For example, I'm using a setup totally different from Ahmet, because I'm actually using a Cintiq 24 Pro, so 24 inches, very large. I usually use it for architecture and design, and also illustration and comics on my desk. And I'm using another Wacom, the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro, as an engine for this one. So this is my screen, and then I have the Mobile Studio Pro as the computer. It's very powerful because I can change in a while the settings and I have to customize from myself. So spend your time, 10 minutes to customize your tablet, and then you can just go fast and gain hours and hours. Some example of the style on the topic, so on the Fallingwater house. This is original from Frank Lloyd Wright. A beautiful perspective view made by pencil and colored pencil. And the perspective is perfect. You see also the shadowing really clean, so you can understand exactly the idea. And this is beautiful to explain your young project before maybe to go on really complex steps on modeling and rendering and other things like that. So you can manage the perspective view and then going on with coloring, painting, and the style. But you can change also the style because, for example, it's good also to work with a clean line, outline like this. Only choose a color and then you can just do the lines like this. Or you can just make a more contemporary using flatten effects and changing some details, and also change the environment, day and night, change the color, use your color palette, your favorite color palette, and you can go on like this. And also pictorial style, so really synthetic to express your idea. For example, in this case, it's an illustration about an existing project, but also for the design project, for your own project, could be interesting having this really straight view and simple view, but that is really cool to show as a cover, for example, for a presentation. What about my personal example on digital painting, on architecture and design? I really like to use reference and then paint over the reference and use the point of view, for example, different point of view, something that you can do also with rendering, but you want to use, for example, your style, your sketch style to go on. For example, here, it was very hard to understand how to create the fair exhibition concept. So I did very simple with only 2 colors, and I expressed, for example, the idea of visitors inside and different zones, different areas. And you see, is again 2-point perspective view. That is very cool to work with it in architecture, interior design, even product design. This one is little bit different. It's a kind of storyboard done for a competition, architectural competition about New York City after the business crack on 2010. So it was something that could see a renaissance of New York based on the very early project about the city, because the very early project were on something similar to a water city, more water, more nature inside. So you can see different kind of skyscrapers born with the green part and nature inside. So this could be just an element for ecological matters and issues. And here we see a lot of basic sketching and painting with the color palette to have differences between crisis part, crisis shot, and the new part, for example, with the hope of developing again and burn again for the city. And for example, here there is a mix of pictures, but painting too, to create some kind of futuristic point of view. And I like the color palette and the effects that you can just put in with Photoshop with some light effects directly. And even here, if you look at the details, they are not so clear. They are just spots. But it's the way to paint digital and to create concept.
Even the character are hand drawn, right? Like
yeah, sure.
I just I think the cityscape, it is really impactful conceptual image.
For example, the
cityscape is photo, what I guess.
It's part of picture and part of painting with color directly with a square brush, because the square brush help you to do things in a while. Also, not doing some details, but paint some parts, some colors, and then you can just go on. Okay, so we are ready to go live. We'll see the breakdown first, and then all the steps to do the illustration that you see on the covering. So I will jump into software just to show you the breakdown. This is the final illustration. Okay, I will show you from the beginning. So we have to close all the layer. For example, this layer that I call red lines are the construction with two focus point for the perspective view. And it's cool because you can just manage the perspective, just moving the parts from these 2 points. Another trick is having just the camera and the target at the same height, but we'll see in another environment, in a 3D environment, just choose it. And going and using them straight vertical lines that are perfect for architecture and interior design, So to have vertical lines like this, I can just show you some with a new layer and red color, okay? To have vertical lines, you see, as this one, okay? It's very important to have the camera point and the target point where my sight is just looking at the same height, okay? And you can just create something like this. But let's see what is inside this part. Okay, we have the perspective view, and we have some layers that are just light. Then I will just took the main two and main one on, because we are using white, for example, and outline, and then shadows.
Yeah.
And then we have different layer for nature, for rocks. This main, so is the line, and lights here, okay, right off, and some part for the coloring. So basically, we'll start with something that is like this, okay. Okay, this is the starting point, and the reference are some pictures, for example, for the nature. So I take some picture. I found some picture on the internet just to see what is the environment around Fallingwater, okay?
Yeah.
Because we see this picture, we see the the waterfall, yes, it's okay, but also a lot of green that is covering like mimesis on architecture, and this is the one of the principle of organic architecture. So just this blending with nature that was beautiful. But the real part, the real reference is the rendering, very simple rendering.
Yeah.
Okay, of a model, and then some kind of line of sketch with the model. Okay, so if you are doing your project, you can just use your own model, even if it's not finished. It's a rough model because you have no time to do all the details, for example, but you want to do something directly with your hand, by hand, digital sketching that is better. For example, doing rock on 3D is very hard. You have to use different software to do that. For example, not AutoCAD, not 3ds Max, not Rhinoceros, but maybe digital sculpting software like ZBrush or Sculptron. But if you have not time to do that, it's better to do by hand. Taking reference, photographic reference, then you can do that. And it's the same for the trees. For the green part, it's very hard to render 3D trees and other things. So it's better to make it by hand, taking a reference on that. So and
the idea is here. I just wanted to note, the idea is here is like concerning the presentation style, right? Graphic style. If you want to keep in certain style, but also if you have some time constraints, right? Time constraints.
Absolutely.
So it's a great advantage to have this really flexible. I think you're gonna mention after, but this easy transition from 3D photo references to freehand sketch. It's really analog approach, I wanted to say.
Absolutely. And I say every time you have to use the percentage of software that is really useful to you. Okay. You cannot know in your university pot 100% on each software you want to use. Photoshop, Rhinoceros, AutoCAD, 3ds Max, and even more. Okay. But if you have some style in mind and you want to focus on that style, you can just use 10% of one software, 25% of the other software, and then you can go on.
Yeah.
It's very important to find your style first before and you can do also choosing different kind of brushes and testing the custom of the software. So you go on into the settings and see I can just use some kind of a brush instead of the other, just to have a clean line or really pencil line and other things. I will show you also some kind of a brush. So you can just use it. But we want to see step by step how to jump into this kind of illustration. Okay.
Okay.
For example, I found a model, or I did by myself model of the Fallingwater. Okay. And I want to use it to have a reference, even if the model is not perfect, or my own model, my project is a work in progress, I can use it. For example, you can just turn and find some interesting point of view. Okay, just work with it.
Alessio, while you find the camera angle, I just want to remind something really quick. If among the audience, if there's anybody wants to ask questions, feel free to use the chat. But additionally, you can also write your questions in Turkish. So I will try to explain, communicate it to the Alessio, and then translate the idea for you. So no language barriers.
Yeah, no problem. It's perfect to me.
Yeah.
So
please continue.
Okay. What I said before, for example, is managing the camera. Just to have, I will show you in the Rhino workflow, for example. If you go viewport properties, you see the lens length. It is very important, but we'll check also the lens length. But the most important thing is that the camera and the target must have the same height. Okay, just to have the straight lines. So, for example, what you can do, you can just copy the zip of the camera here and paste into the target. Okay, just to obtain, you see, vertical straight. Then you can use span directly to move it, but you are moving parallel, so the vertical will be straight. And it's interesting. Maybe I can show you also the other view if we want to show the camera F6. Okay, you see the camera here in the front view, for example. You see the camera is, I will show you. this is the point of the viewer, okay? So this is the camera point, and this is the target. And you see they are on a straight horizontal line of the same height. So you can get the vertical totally straight. That is perfect for, I repeat, for architecture and interior design, for example. Okay. What about the lens length? The lens length is something that is interesting if you want to obtain some effects. I will change also the.
By the way, Alessio, for those who might not be familiar with the program, maybe it's good to mention. This is just Rhinoceros.
Rhinoceros, yes.
But I think the idea here is applicable in any kind of 3D software.
Absolutely.
If you have the model ready, and if you want to visualize, take some references, I think the idea here to have this flexibility, right? To arrange the angles.
Yes. 100% of 3D modeler use the cameras. And the cameras are based on 3 axes. And so you can just work only on the height, for example, when you work on a position of the camera, and the lens length. So sometimes you can find more complex settings, but same thing. These are very basics here, for example, because you have only the lens length. Okay. Sometimes you have also other settings like the F number, the ISO, but I don't want to go
it's complex.
Too much on complex things.
Yeah.
But you see, with the lens length, for example, you can just have more zoom or more wide. If I zoom more, I will have something different on the view. Okay, yes,
close up.
Even if you go with the zoom out, you see that the perspective view is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Okay. So, for example, for this kind of architecture, 24 millimeters or 25 millimeters is perfect. But check again.
Basically, to note, you are just playing with the optic of the camera.
Yeah, sure. The more the lenses are close one to the other, the more wide is the opening.
Yeah.
Okay. The more are distant, the more is just the zoom focus. Okay. So I prepare for you some views just to work with it. Set view and view 1. Okay. Just really iconic, as you see. We'll see here the first fall and the second fall is here on this part, this area. So it could be interesting to work like this. Let's check the viewport properties. Okay, 25. What we can just do in the with the model, we can just see also the material. Okay, and we can have a reference of material too. If we found the model, for example, for this test, I found the model that on SketchUp that is totally free, so you can find it, and it's well done because I see a lot of details in it. So it's a good model to do test on these topics, for example. And if you have time, you can just do very quick rendering. So don't waste too much time to do that, but you see, it's very fast thing.
Yeah, like the good thing is you have everything, the material here already implemented to the model. But in this scenario that you don't have enough time, or by choice, you want to make it by hand, you can even take the render without any material, right? I mean,
sure,
it's a lot faster. And then if the purpose is playing by hand, freehand sketch on the program, Photoshop or others.
Yeah, for example, you just make it totally black and white without material, totally without texture. So you can just work with it and using as a reference to create your perspective view. Okay. So I will save this one.
That was quick.
Okay, that's very quick. So we can save it. I call it view test.
Mm-hmm.
Another things that can do is just saving a grab for the lines, for example, because in Rhino and also in other software, 3D software, you have also, for example, artistic view, fan view, okay? So you can grab also this one, for example, and just put everything together. I will grab in a while because this is real time. So we'll grab this one.
Mm-hmm.
And this is view test line.
Basically, you're just collecting some useful images,
yes,
references that might help your visualization, right?
Sure. Okay, now we jump on another software that is for free, again, like SketchUp, for example, that we mentioned before. Okay, I really want to have good resolution, so go on Canvas sites, and I want to use Full HD Square. Why I use Square? Because I really want to have more space to manage my perspective view. Okay, so I use Square.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can see. And then I can just add the image that we rendered before. So the quick render, view test render, okay, like this. And yeah, make a little bit large. Okay, good. Then another image is the other ink image. So we can just use to manage the transparency in it. And file add the image again. And we have the test lines. Okay, a little bit larger, but then what I will do is just using transparency or also some effects. Could be just overlay, for example. Could be nice, or multiply. Okay, good. With the multiply on, I can just move my object here. Okay, we'll just move the object over the other one. Okay, make it a little bit larger, for example, for the scale. Okay, cool. And move a little bit. Now they match exactly, because we don't change the perspective view. It's the same perspective view. So now we have a good reference to start. But the next step is very important. I will create a new layer, for example.
Because here, I guess, there are a lot of unwanted lines. You know, it needs some refining.
Yeah, sure.
This one. So you need to intervene with the freehand.
Yeah, sure, a lot. Because I want to create something that is the typical picture that we saw of the Fallingwater with a lot of nature around it. Okay, just also covering some part and to be interesting. But before to do everything, okay, what you have to do is going on some color that is bright, that you can just recognize it all. It could be red, okay? And I want to create my perspective view. Okay, I want to create my lines for perspective view. And
maybe it will be better to zoom in a bit for the audience to see some. I mean, it's up to your workflow, but I just felt the main image remaining so far from the capture. Yeah. Okay.
Better like this?
Yeah. Clear.
Okay. And yeah, sure. We have to put the lines here, for example. Okay. Move a little bit. No, I don't want to do the stroke there, but I want to move a little bit. Okay, here.
In fact, you were trying to find the perspective point. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, the focus point.
Yeah. So that's why you zoomed out.
The image. So new layer, it's very important. And you can just do the lines. first lines here, for example. Then you can choose the line that is close, or some lines that are not so close. For example, you can just choose a line that is here. Okay.
Yeah.
You're moving, be precise for this one. Okay, make the lines here. Okay. For this one, it's okay. We have to work on the other one, for example. We'll zoom out a little bit just to check some point here. And I can use this one, for example. It'll be really nice. Not here.
Yeah, basically, yeah. You need this for the rest of the, you need to find these points for the rest of the illustration process, right?
Absolutely. You can just control, you can control your illustration, your perspective view using
real life analog method. I mean, this is the way we use the rulers in technical drawings, right? So
yes, exactly the same. And now what I will do, I really want to see the focus point. So I need more space on my canvas. So I go on canvas again, canvas size, and I will make just the width larger. So 3600. Okay, so I can see my focus point. One is here. I can just stop the rulers. Okay, F1, and one is here. And we have F2. Now, in this software, that is really impressive for drawing. Okay, what we can do, we can just manage to approach the perspective view, 2-point perspective view, and we put the point exactly where we found the reference. Okay, so here, just put the copy there. You see? Now I put the 2 points on the points that we created with the red lines. Okay, this is the construction line, but we can create a new layer now because we want to create directly the line for the sketch. So I can just manage to do everything more transparent. We can choose a different color, for example, to do that. I really like to use red and blue, for example. This is the same color that's used as the pencil, the double pencil with a double point. And if you see now, we can just do the, for example, I will do this part. Okay. Oh, sorry. I have to change the layer. Wasn't the wrong layer.
That's fine. I want to ask, how did you get comfortable? I mean, it's directed to you, maybe your personal background. How did you get comfortable with this kind of production methods? How did you implement these to your working methods?
Yeah, sure. I usually make by myself, for example, starting from the, we've used the reference actually to do that, but sometimes I start directly from the 2 points perspective view and make my own concept. Okay, if it's my project, not something that is existing like this, I can do that by myself. And it's very useful just to use the possibility. I will show you to use the lines to do very quick the perspective view without any trouble. Okay, and you can just manage the depth of the object, so you can just use it also to show better, for example, the sides, the human being inside the building. If you're doing something with dimension, so you can just do all things like this, and it could be really interesting.
Yeah, and we can also consider this session as since it is related, the continuation of what we did before in other sessions
Sure.
about digital painting, because there you created from the beginning, right? And it was from scratch. And again, we utilize the same tool, same perspective tool. It's maybe good to note again that you are using now. Actually, it is giving a lot of freedom when you are using the pen.
Yeah, because for example, if you do the same in Photoshop, okay, you can create the same point of view with Photoshop, okay, with the method of redline. Not a problem, but remember that you have not the same tool that create to anchorage point, and then you can just make everything really quick. Okay, so with this method, you can just draw everything, and you're sure that you are respecting the perspective, because everything is going in the two anchorage points. So it's really interesting working like this. Okay. Another things you can do is adding something. For example, I really want to give more importance to something, so I use the pressure on my tablet just to give more importance to this volume, for example. You see?
Yeah, when you have the edges, right, to emphasize the difference between the context and the architecture, the pressure is a nice tool here. Or if you wanna, if you have a geometry or a shape, structure in front and back, you can also give this hierarchy with these. It's basic.
Yes, sure.
But
absolutely.
You are simply doing it with the pen, right? I mean, with the pressure.
Yeah,
so this
I'm not changing. You see, I'm not changing the tool. I'm using only the pressure.
Yeah.
And for example, as you did in your collage technique, the three main floating volume are very important to understand the project, the Fallingwater project.
Yeah.
So we can give more importance to that with the lines.
Yeah, there's this emphasis, of the geometry. And in the collage, I try to give that, but it's different to see in 3D. I mean, in perspective view, right? So it starts to live. That was just an idea, maybe a starting point to the general design. But here, the actual visualization modes for, like, probably if you are in this phase, it means that you already move further a little bit from the concept phase. So you are ready to create something after all those things.
Sure, because you're just controlling the space now. You know how something is going here. You know how the lines, the main lines, I'm just running. Okay. You can just yes, for the stairs, for other details there. And for example, for other things that are not in the same plane for the perspective, you can just work by hand. It's not a problem. And you can do that. For example, if I stop this one, you can just work directly here. Not a problem. Okay. And want to create a line. This is something that made by stone and walls, so I can just make it directly like this.
A bit irregular.
Yeah, sure. Even here, because we saw from the picture that it was different stone that you used this part. So it's not regular as the texture could be. So you want to have, even if you use this one, but you can just make so irregular here.
Yeah, this is, and then all these detailing will make a lot of sense after you start to give the color, the shades. It will start to talk. I mean, also it's a dynamic phase. You go, right? I mean, you make a line work and then go to coloring and giving all those values. And then you detail also even the line work afterwards. That's the possibility.
Yeah, and the other things is that you're just doing something that you can just control. And on my workflow, for example, I really like to use a different tool, different software. For example, I will show you. I will save it directly. So File, Save As. Here we save it like Photoshop TIFF files. I really like this this kind of files because it's not heavy like PSD, and you can read it with other software, not only with Photoshop. But I choose the Photoshop TIFF because you can read all the layers. So we save it. Without closing is not a problem. We go here and we open it. Fallingwater 1, yes, okay. And that's the program. So you can just use a new layer here, like the background. Okay, and we do the white background. Sorry, not red. Oh, even red could be interesting.
You are, creative freedom. You
want to work something different.
Or choose totally green if you want to emphasize the context.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Green.
Why not? Why not? We can do green. But first of all, you choose the white one.
Accidental moments. Accidental moments brings creates the ideas, new perspective, right? So yeah, that was nice.
I need to choose green that I like. So for example, this one is nice. Okay, but not so much. So, you know, with the layers hierarchy, they can just work on, you know.
I just want to note for you that before the Q&A, you might have less than 10 minutes, more or less, let's say 10 minutes.
Yeah.
For the Q&A.
So really good. We can just do something really quick because I want to work on green. And yes, I want to copy this one, the turtle line, duplicate layer. And I want to modify them with the hue saturation. Want to have really white line.
Yeah.
It's cool. Work with. Okay. So, and we duplicate it because they are transparent. So we'll give more intense stroke. Okay. But now it's time to work on nature too. So what about the brush? Okay. I really want to use a white brush. Okay, I'm using the pressure here. You can see pressure, and the point that is modifying with the pressure too. For example, I will show you some kind of square. I will show you larger, but just to see it. Okay, it is a square. I don't change my brush. I change the pressure, and you can see really different shapes here. That was cool because you can use just small points, for example, like 10 or even smaller, 6 pixel. Just work, for example, on what is the rock here. Okay. What is the water on this part, for example? And also here,
all those organic things. It's good to touch with free hands.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah, it's less mechanic. It looks less mechanic, but more natural in this way.
Because there are just stone and rocks between the, the water. So you have to create something, some effects here.
That is also what I realized from, for example, it's a good technique in this sense. For example, that's what I was realizing from the sketch of the hand rendering of Frank Lloyd Wright, that while, of course, keeping the architecture really technical, and then straight lines for the representation, but also keeping the nature freehand, like
sure.
So it's also
Absolutely.
a contrast, and then complementing each other. That will be kind of approach that we can consider sometimes.
I want to close my view. Okay, so I want to create a kind of view here. I want to close like this. Okay.
Zoom a little bit.
Yeah. It's okay.
I think it's good. Yeah.
Okay. And work with nature. Not to be so precise, but please don't do things like this. It's not okay. Okay. Do straight things and use the same stroke to do everything. Okay. Because you are creating trees here, and some trees are over, so you can just have another point view that is covering this part. Okay, some parts are free from the leaves, so you can just do something like this, and other water here. Okay, good. Another water here. You can use shift also to do straight lines, even on the natural things. It's okay sometimes. Okay. And the other part here to create the green.
So this touch is also interesting because you are setting up the scene, and then you are creating some foregrounds.
Sure.
And then architecture in the center, and then there will be also background. So there is this 3-layer, and foreground helps you to focus to the main thing. If you didn't draw these bushes or trees, probably I would easily get lost in the composition. But thanks to this, now the scenes, the parts that I'm gonna see, it's more defined artistically. So it's just wanted to note that.
Yeah, for example, now we can just shut off everything here. Okay. Here. So you got your you got your drawing. Okay. If you need something to do, you get the same layer that you have here. So you can just work directly on that one. Okay. My advice is also to work on, for example, on the main lines. Okay, and put the main lines on a folder. Okay, because it's very cool to call it main lines. So you can just remember every time if you need to do something here. Okay, don't want to have this one, but with a new layer, I can just add some really quick details here. Okay, and the last thing, very quick last thing, is working on color. If you want to work on color, you create a new folder for color. And for example, color here could be just the same things you have with green. So you can just do something with green. Take the same green that we used before. Okay, you make really quick lasso or lasso tool. Okay,
for the selection.
Yeah, you put selection here, really quick selection. Don't mind to be precise in this part without you just avoid something here. And you can just do more than one plane, for example. Okay, don't mind to go outside, it's not a problem. We create a mask for it. And you're giving just the depth. Okay, so it's very interesting just working with it. I really want to do something with white before to go home, and then
we have 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
For the shades,
it's enough. It's enough.
It's fine.
But you can see
Feel free.
It's a very quick technique, so you can just manage to do something really quick to present, for example. Okay. Okay. This is our view.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the same color, you can just do other lasso. For example, here, and avoiding some part. Okay, and fill it, but this time you will use different.
A lot lesser, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So you can just have many possibility to create the depth of your scene. Then for the architecture, we can use, for example, white color. Okay. So for the architecture, we use only white and not with the areas. We use directly very quick paint. Okay, just to see. For example, this part is different from the other. Okay, so I can just paint like this. And these are, you see, I'm not changing the pen. I'm changing only the way to slightly move on this thing. I can just paint over also here, for example.
Yeah, it's really helpful to see. Actually, again, the main message here, having this possibility to observe how easy things in this working methods and the experimentation and learning process will be up to the audience, let's say.
Yeah,
up
sure.
to us.
Every time you have to experiment on this, because you have many possibilities, many way to do the same thing. So you have to express exactly at the level you want to reach, or your own style. There is not the digital style. There is your own style transferred on digital. And so we create something more green.
If you want to add also by word some last things before moving to Q&A session, feel free if you have some additional things to say. If not,
I want to say that this technique is really interesting also, not only in architecture and interior design, but also in product design or illustration, or even in other fields. Because if you transfer and you make a substitution of the Fallingwater house with, I don't know, a model to create fashion design, or you know, a car or other object to create a product, you can just explain and translate your ideas in a while into digital. This is the best thing you can do as a contemporary student nowadays.
Yeah, I as a student, I agree. I mean,
and also as a professional.
From my point of view,
as a student is a kind of you know, way to develop your own style and your path in your workflow. As a professional, with just this kind of workflow, they can just be really fast on explaining and showing, make a presentation of your works. But now we have to jump again in the presentation. Live demo. I will present again. Heroes. I think we have.
So please, everybody, feel free to write your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, happy
Please
to
do.
explain or explain further, or if you have some doubts, and feel free. I want to note that taking 3D image, having the possibility to arrange all the camera angle. Maybe you are in search, right? You are searching the right point of view to represent your idea. Like you started from 3D and then made a sketch freehand from simply taking a render. So that was awesome to see, in my opinion. So it is a method, just an addition to anything that students or professionals can apply during their workflow. Yeah, let's see if there's any question. Professor,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you, Professor, and
Yes.
to university.
Exactly.
As a teacher myself, it's very interesting to show how I can just do something with my student, but maybe having references, feedback from you could be really useful to me to understand even more, and just continue this kind of interchange of technique and knowledge, because it's very important. It's a continuous development. Thanks to Wacom too, I think we have a surprise, Ahmet, also for the student.
We can maybe
we can leave the ground to Melissa,
for the promotion.
Melissa Messan.
Yes,
this is the surprise.
Yes, so thank you all for attending our webinar. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And yes, we have a little surprise for you. So with the code Wacom10, you can get 10%. Sorry? Yeah, so with the code Wacom10, you can get 10% off Wacom 113 pen display and on Wacom Intuos Pro M in our partner store, store.wacomturkey.com. And the offer is available for you while stock lasts. So yeah, we hope you liked our surprise. So once again, thank you so much for participating. And I hope to see you soon all in our next online workshop.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
It was, I hope it was a really fruitful session for everybody. In these two sessions event, we try to actually show some different techniques from concept to an actual, let's say, design phase. We try to show some techniques that you can apply during your production phase. And yeah, I hope we started some questions in you and some curiosity in you to discover digital design workflows. Feel free to experiment more. And you know, it's a journey, learning process. So I hope you will develop also an understanding in this way. Alessio, if you have some additions, please feel free. Otherwise, we can conclude the event.
Yes, thank you, Ahmet. I want to wish good luck to all the students, and please be hungry to discover everything, because it's kind of a work in progress every time. So you can just find your way to really express in this field. It's not easy today, but you have a lot of item to do. You have also a completely new workflow that you can just adapt to your style. So please make the settings as you want, and discover every time something new. And you know that learning is never be at the end. You have to learn every day something that is totally new and useful to do your profession. Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was exciting to be there, and I hope to do something with you again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care, everybody. That's all from us today. Hope to meet you again in the further
meetings. Keep in touch. Stay tuned.